Hi everyone, it's Chelle from Chelle Crochet. Welcome to my October 2024 crochet podcast. Let's talk some whips and finished objects, and happy Halloween! Hi everyone, it's Chelle. How are you today? I hope you're all doing well. I'm recording this video on Monday, October the 28th, and I'm hoping to post it on Wednesday, October the 30th. There's a few things going on this week, Halloween being one of them, but I wanted to make sure I got the video recorded and in plenty of time to get it up. Just so you guys know how this goes for me, generally the day I record, I get organized in the morning. I deal with whether or not there's going to be any sounds that interrupt us. I think you've heard before. I live in like a stacked townhouse, so sometimes there's noises from the neighbors. And once I'm finished recording, which usually takes me about an hour, I go on with my day, but I spend the bulk of the day editing the video, which includes gathering all the clips that I've taken throughout the month and editing them in where they make most sense, at least to me, in the video. And the whole process usually takes me about a day. And I think I'm gonna do it a little bit differently this time. I'm not gonna spend all day today on the editing. I'm gonna do some of it tomorrow. So I have a little bit more brain space for it, and we'll see how that goes. Anybody who's new, welcome, and if you have any questions, you're always free to leave me a comment in any of my videos and I will get back to you. If I don't get back to you, that is some kind of a YouTube glitch, because I do answer all my comments and I go back and look to make sure none have gotten through. At least I do my best to do that. If you ever wanted to reach me otherwise, I am on Instagram as Chelle Crochet and also chellechellcrochet@gmail.com. You can email me there as well. So let's get into it. Let's go back in time and see what kind of clips I have from the very beginning of the month. Good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, October the 7th. And what a difference a week makes. We have some nice fall weather right now. I think today it's only supposed to get to a high of about 15 degrees Celsius, and waking up to around 10 degrees Celsius. It's very breezy. But I guess a positive side effect of how the weather has been transitioning for us here in Southern Ontario is that the leaves are changing very slowly. So I'm really getting to enjoy that. Last year they changed very quickly, and it was like they went through all their colors and dropped within a week. And I have been slowly watching the trees around me change color, and looking forward to going to see some of those fall colors next week. Anyway, I have some finished objects. I haven't really taken any clips so far, so I won't go too much into detail, but I have made a mini monster, a chicken, an emotional support chicken, that's what I like calling them, in a different pattern. It was the second pattern I wanted to try, and 2 hat sets. So I'll be able to show you that one. That is actually a different one, even though the hat is some of the yarn I showed from last time. And that is a very different one over there. And the cowls are tucked inside. These are my next victims. That is some Premier anti-pilling yarn that I have caked up. There's quite a bit of it there in those 2 cakes. And I have some different, very like size 1-ish sparkle yarns. I may try holding double there. And then I started a new blanket project as well. Just granny squares, but plain granny squares. Plain, solid granny squares. And they are 9 inches. And they are 8 rows with primarily a, what hook is it? 6.5 millimeter hook for the regular worsteds, and then I had to go down to a 5.5 to get this old Karen 1 pound to cooperate. Just thought I'd do a check-in today and see what I am about to get on my hook. Back to regularly scheduled programming. I concentrated mostly on making cozy sets in the month of October and finishing up a blanket. We will start with whips because they're the closest to me. You can see in the background here, I have started putting together, although rather minimally, my Mile a Minute blanket that I am going to be donating to Project Linus. And I have sort of organized a little bit of the colors that I want to continue with. And I just decided once I was putting black on a couple more strips, I was just going to join them right away. And that was probably fairly close to the beginning of the month, maybe the second week of the month. And it has been sitting since. And the other main whip I have, well, let's actually talk about this first. We have Jayda's Crochet Along, the calendar blanket, which is Magical Granny's Cupboard. I took a little screenshot of it so that I could always have it correctly on the screen for you. And this one was, I think, the whirly square, something about whirling. And it's to practice a little bit of cabling, which you can see in the corners there. And this is a Karen Big Cake, or a little bit that I have left of a Karen Big Cake that's long discontinued. And they both are this month, actually. I didn't actually use any of my backup color this month. So they're the same size and only a little bit wonky before blocking this time. This one was okay. You only get to see it in the very edges. And like I said last month, I'm not really gravitating to very many of these squares, but the purpose of doing the crochet along is that it pushes me out of my comfort zone. And I know that overall other things in crochet will get easier to me because I'm persevering and participating in the crochet along. So those two. This is the basket right here. You can see some of that hostess colorway that is my backup color and joining color there. I put it on the couch because I'm gonna leave it on the couch after I'm done the video and really focus on getting my edging done. And I may even start laying it out in my mind. I have pictures of all the squares already, so it's not very hard for me to plop them into a collage program and then be able to sort of see how I like them. A lot of them I don't really even think you're going to be able to tell. Mostly for me, it's probably going to be about how the yarn came out of the cake organically and how it looks. So I'm probably going to plot them mostly that way. But second to that, I probably won't have two identical squares beside each other on the blanket. But whoever gets this blanket, I'm sure is just going to love it for it being fun colors. And we'll have no idea that the reason everything is different is because it was part of a crochet along. So I'm gonna try to keep that out of my head when I'm putting it together. Friday is already gonna be our new square because that will be November the 1st. Halloween falls on Thursday, so Friday will be our new square and we will continue on with this project. So that's whip 1 and whip 2, and then whip 3. I took a break from using the Red Heart All-in-One Granny Square yarn this month, and a little inspiration from one of my friends, Debbie, the Canadian crocheter, who showed a beautiful solid granny blanket a couple of videos ago, I believe, on her channel. And I decided to grab my scraps. Let's grab the yarn first. I just dropped this. If it wasn't so loud, I would have left the clip in as a blooper. But this bag is quite loud because it's one of those sheet bags. And anyway, so all these are eligible to go into this solid granny square blanket, except for these little tiny guys here, which will go into a new magic ball. But I'm going to get 2 or 3. I don't think I have any yarn in here that I'm only going to get 1 out of. So one of the programs I use, I can just kind of color on, and I have plotted out an idea of how this blanket will look. Let me get the other yarn too, actually. So this is my joining yarn. It is a Mary Maxim yarn I got a while ago. And it's very similar to Bernat Cozy Style. I'd be shocked if it wasn't the same yarn. But this is like a smoky gray color. And it's a very average 4-weight yarn. So instead of smoky gray, smoky black, it's just got a little bit of heather to it. You can see that on camera now. So that's what I'm going to be going over all my solid squares with before I join the blanket. So that's why you see the dark on that photo. This lovely bag that Debbie made for me. And here's all the squares. So by not having to work with the granny square yarn, I got to just keep going. These are 8 round squares. Sounds funny to say round squares. I'm doing 8 rounds of granny stitch and I get a 9-inch square, and I am using a 6.5 millimeter hook. I'm questioning myself. 7 was the blanket. Yeah, I'm using a 6.5 millimeter hook. So I have these 3 in gray. Yeah, I guess these count as finished objects and a whip, right? I have these 2 in this goldy yellow color. It's kind of in between bright yellow and just, I don't know, yellow. And then this pink, I have 2. And for the most part, I don't think I have any more of these yarns. For those of you who don't know, we're doing that thing where we want to move, but we're not gonna move unless we find exactly what we want. But it did involve getting the house a little bit ready to move last spring in case something came our way. So I packed away all my yarn and it's living in the basement, and I don't go down to the basement because I have really bad knees. So my husband has to get it for me, and I don't like to bug him too much. Plus I've left yarn upstairs that I really want to get out of my stash. So for the most part with the 4-weight acrylic, some of it I know I have more of, but most of it you're seeing just leftovers that I don't have any more of. So this denim color for sure was a loops and threads yarn, and I've used it all up now. So I've got 3 of these, 8 rounds, 9 inches. I think I said that. And here's the first one where I really had to go down. So this is a little bit more of the Cairn 1 pound that I was showing last time that I made my mom the heating pad cover with. It's very dense. You can see how much more drapey this is than this. And I went down and then taught 2 hook sizes, I guess you would say, right? So 6.5 for everything else, 5.5 for this. And really, they're very similar now. Some of them, it still looks bigger. The denim must have been a decent thick yarn. Sometimes loops and threads is a bit thicker. So anyway, I did 2 of those. And then I did 1 in this lilac. Now this was a monster ball from Spin Right. So this finished up the monster ball, but I have another whole monster ball somewhere put away. This is Bernat Super Value in white. And this was a, I'm gonna say Red Heart Super Saver, but this yarn was actually part of a grab bag I got from Cambridge Fibers years ago. But this feels like a really old Super Saver. It's so rough, so I can always remember it for that reason. Anyway, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. The gold one that's over there, you're just seeing the edges of. I'm not gonna pull on it because I don't want everything to fall down. But that one was the toughest one because I barely made it with the scrap I had left, and that was some, what did they used to call that? Spin Right tent sale worsted yarn that I had in this colorway called Amber. And it's a very unique gold color. So none of the other golds I have I could steal from to finish that off. But yeah, so the blanket is gonna probably be the number of squares that are laid out on the screen, which I don't remember right now. I'm just going for something that will still work for Project Linus. And I'm hoping to donate that blanket soon. So I have 1 blanket already completed for Project Linus. A second one is completed this month, which you'll see in a bit. And then there'll be the Cowl blanket, and then hopefully the Mile a Minute blanket. So given that these squares come out so early, and Jayda has already said, you know, do whatever border you want on this blanket, I grabbed another one of my squares. I'm kind of locked in terms of how I'm going to join and then border my blanket, because I've chosen to do a single crochet round to finish all my squares, which was done in whatever color I was using for the yarn. And then I've taken my joining square color and I've done a half double all the way around. So I'm just gonna probably sew my squares together. And when I do that, I'll get Chris to throw it in the dryer to like release it all and have them laying nicely. And then I will probably just border it in that stitch I like to do where you do like 2 doubles and a single so that you get a little bit of texture. I'll probably just border it in that. So I think what I'm gonna strategize to do is meet up with the coordinator as soon as this blanket is done. And then that way I'll have probably 4 blankets to give her before the end of this year. And this one won't have to wait till January that way. So I think I was doing a little thinking out loud there, but that'll be my strategy for Project Linus donations. All right, so let's go on and see about some more finished objects. I didn't take very many clips this month, and a few of the clips I took are not really related to too many projects. I did a car crochet clip that'll be around at some point, and I also did a clip of me packing up all the sets I have, because I did go visit the lady for the Shoebox Charities, who they collect items for women's charities, and they are happy to take crochet. So I do hat and neck sets. I call them cozy sets. I tend to do a lot of cowls for this charity because I feel like I can get a lot more accomplished. A cowl takes around the same amount of time as a hat does. And if you make a scarf, it's going to take 2 or 3 times as long as a hat does. So just in terms of helping more people, it feels better to me to make the cowls. So that's why I do it the way I do it. So if I have any clips about the cozy sets that I've made this month, I'm going to show them to you right now. Hey everyone! Today is Wednesday, October the 16th, and it's some car crochet. The hubs and I are on an adventure in Aurelia today. I crocheted on the way up a bit, and I think I've already shown you the hat that was done, I don't know, maybe in the spring, late spring. And I finished the cowls. The cowl was about maybe 2/3 done on the way up. Oh, the glare. Yeah, sorry, we're just gonna have to deal with the sun. So yeah, this was about 2/3 done on the way up, and I finished it on the way up in the car, and then I just did my ends and finishing touches back in the room. We're staying at a little cottagey place for a couple of days. So what I plan to do with this when I get home is I have a light lilac sparkle yarn, and I'm just gonna give it a finishing edge at the top and on the bottom. And I also have some lilac pom-poms, lilac tone pom-poms, or something that would go really, really well with this. So I'm about to start set number 2, and I'll show you the yarn. You have to be a little bit careful with this yarn just because it's just basically twisted two colors together, and so it does like to unravel. And then so basically what you have here is two strings of the white, or 3 maybe, 3 strings of the white and 3 strings of the purple twisted together. It's fairly lightly twisted, so you just got to be a bit careful. I started my last set using a 6mm hook, so I used it throughout, and I'm going to start with my 6.5. That's the biggest I can get with these hooks, so we'll see if it likes the yarn any better, and if it doesn't, I will go back to the 6. But so far so good. I'm just going to do my regular beanie style hat, and it is a beautiful day today. So the weather has been kind of nutty. We had like one pretty cool week in August, then the rest of August was super hot, both before and after. September was super warm right up until, I would say, the day or so even the day I recorded my last video, it was hot, but right after that it started to get a little bit more cool. But now it really dropped, like it didn't just slowly go down. And we've had like below 10 degrees Celsius temperatures, and up here, it's a little bit north of our place, up here the overnight temperatures have been in the minus, like -1, -2 overnight, but I think today's the last day of below double digits, and then it's going to slowly go back up. So I think tomorrow around 15, and by the weekend and early next week it goes up to like 20 degrees Celsius again. So it's really funny. We usually take a little bit of time off closer to our anniversary in November every year, but this year I said to my husband, do you want to do it like closer to Thanksgiving? Canadian Thanksgiving was just on Monday, and have it have the potential to be a nicer time of year. And it's been beautiful, just chilly. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But one of the other things that we were wanting to take advantage of was the fall colors. So I will put in a few pictures here for you to see as well. And I'm just going to work on this hat, and I'm going to let you go, and the video will pick up from wherever it picks up next. Bye everybody. I'm back because I'm not in the sun now, and I'm at Michael's. However, I'm not the one going in. I think I created a monster. So it's been almost 2 years. It'll be two years in November since hubby started to do the crafting with the perler beads. And so he just made stops at Dollarama, Winners, Walmart, and now Michael's. So funny. This is as far as I've got. I'm done my increases, so now I just get to go around and around and make my beanie. Just regular spiral beanie like I like to do. Actually, I was just talking with the lady from the Shoebox Charities because they're also doing an auction to raise money, and she's going to take one of my granny square blankets. I'll pop up a picture here of the blanket that I am donating, and yeah, when I get back I'm going to have to go through all my sets, see what I have so far, and I'll do one drop off now with the blanket, and then I'll do a final drop off at the beginning of December. But I think I'm going to have at least about 30 sets so far of the cozy sets to be giving. I have to go and count them, and then we'll see if I can get a total of 20 more done before December, so I can, you know, think of it as donating 50 cozy sets for 2024. That would make me super happy. I've already completed 5 cozy sets for the month of October, and this will be number 6. So that's good. All right, guys, I will send you back to our regularly scheduled programming. Okay, so I just finished going through the bucket and taking out all the finished objects, most of which are cozy sets. But it's so funny when I go back through the bucket that I haven't seen things in a while because I totally forget about them, which is why I take clips in the first place. So let's go with this one first. I know we talked about this yarn and how busy it was. Last time I had a little nugget left and I still had a brown pom-pom, so I made another hat. This is tent sale soft worsted yarn, which is very much like Simply Soft or Bernat Satin. It's most likely Bernat Satin because it's coming from Spin Right, or it could be either. They have the Cairn Simply Soft there too. And then this is just the brown held double. This will be very nice and warm, and intentionally also because of the yarn though. It's smaller than the other set I had that looks like this. So that is set number 1 for October. Also, I was following along with our friend Carrie Penny at the Happy Crafty Homemaker when she was going through making all her sets and trying to use as much yarn as she could in 30 days, which was very sort of inspiring and empowering to participate in getting some more sets done. Let's look at this one next. So I had a bunch of this really weird black yarn from Ice Yarns, and it was a little bit textured, not quite solid black, and it was between a 3 and a 4, but it just seemed to go and go and go and go. When it was in the cake, it looked like there wasn't much yarn there, but it just kept going and going and going. So initially I took out some, I had 2 more 50-gram skeins of Patton's Glam Stripes, which is a really old yarn. I think I looked at the label and it said 2014 on it, and I had got it at Spin Right on my first or second visit around 2017, 2018. But this is what it does. I think it's better knitted than it is crocheted because it's got sparkle everywhere, but the parts that don't have the really bright sparkle, the sparkle is so minimal, it just disappears. So you get a bit of pooling, which I don't love. It looks white to you, but it's very silver sparkle in real life. So we have the burgundy with the grayish black, and then all the sparkle showing in this, which I don't love, but it is what it is, and it's going to be keeping someone very warm. Oh my goodness. And then with the cowl, what I chose to do was use it at the top and at the very bottom, and in the middle I had a Mary Maxim sparkle yarn. The bulk of my sparkle yarn is put away right now, so I couldn't just choose any sparkle yarn that I had on hand. Anyway, I think they go very well together, and it'll be cozy and kind of fun for somebody. Decided to put a pom-pom on this one too. So I guess I should tell you a little bit. I won't go too much into detail about what I'm doing with the sets because I'm not following any patterns or tutorials. I made Jayda's V-Stitch cowl when she came out with it, which might have been last year or the year before. So I've made it a lot of times, and it's a very friendly stitch to do cowls with. It doesn't take up a lot of yarn, but it still feels warm. So a lot of them are that. This one I put a little bit of an open stitch and shell border at the bottom, and I put the post stitches at the top to mimic the hat. There's extra post stitches in this hat. Sometimes I come out of the spiral twice in my hats, and I put post stitches for some texture in the middle. I think I did that to see what it would do to the pooling this time. I don't think it helped too much, but this is a nice big hat. I wonder if I could put this on. Let me see. Presto changeo. So I did manage to get this one on. I can still go with the hat being a little looser on me. I do that because I like to not feel like whenever I put a hat on my head that I am that my hair looks weird. I don't know a better way of saying that, but that's why I like my hats so loose. So this one could be a little looser for me. And I also tend to put my hats on at the back of my head and have them come forward for that reason as well. And also the cowl, just showing you that having that little split in it just makes it sit nicely on the shoulders, and it's still nice and warm, and it would cover deep enough for someone's coat. That's what I'm going for. So that's that set. So that was only set number 2. If I talk as much about all the sets as I did about that one, we're going to be here for a while. So I'll try to speed it along a little. Just before I do though, this is one of the, that might be the very first actually, mesh shawls by Hooked by Robin that I ever made. And I love it because it just flips like that, and it's no fuss, no muss. And that's how I love to be able to just throw a shawl around my neck. So I've remade this pattern a bunch of times because of it. But part of the reason it does that is this is some ice yarn natural cotton, I think it was called. And this is probably almost as old as the other yarn I was talking about, probably 2018. But yeah, it's just this interesting denim purple color, and it just is neutral enough that I'm able to throw it on with a lot of things. But this is the real sign to me that something is going to wear on me very well, is when it's just like that, and you can't even really see unless you know that it's the other side of the shawl or the other side of the scarf. Okay, a sip of water and then we go on. So strategy number 2 with the glam stripes. What if I put it with a lighter color so that those heavy duty sparkle stripes don't show as much? And I think it worked way better. So I think this was my last burgundy pom-pom. And then this gray yarn that there's, I guess it's in another set as well, is some Premier Anti-Pilling that I got on clearance at Mary Maxim. I like holding Premier Anti-Pilling double, so I held it with the glam stripes this time. Hat and cowl. So this is one of my regular spiral beanies with the post stitches at the bottom. And this is, making sure, just the regular V-stitch cowl with the open part at the bottom. Nice and cozy and warm. It feels very squishy. So I used a much bigger hook with the cowl than with the hat. And in terms of the hook sizes, for my tension, I'm just picking whatever feels best to make the garment feel not too tight or not too loose. Ever since using the Red Heart All-in-One Granny Square, it's no longer important what hook size I use. It's important what hook size works best for you. And it really solidified for me with Jayda's original square this year, when she said with a 5.5mm hook, she was getting a square that measured 8 inches, I believe. In order for me to match her measurement, I had to go up to a 7, which is also what helped me use the Granny Square yarn in the first place, because I knew I was going to have to use a bigger hook than the label said. But overall, it's just a tension game. So it depends on your tension, what hook you should use. It shouldn't be what hook I use. It should be what's best for you in terms of how you want the fabric to feel. Unless you're following a pattern, but that's what gauge swatches are for. And I'm not a gauge person that way, but I do have a much better understanding of my tension than I used to. This is the second set I did with the anti-pilling yarn we were just talking about. This is the cowl. So nice and stretchy, and I don't know, man, especially I guess because I've been doing a lot of the granny squares in just all these different random scraps of all these different 4-weights that aren't particularly soft when you have anti-pilling going on. It's so squishy. Anyway, and Chelle's gonna have to remember the name of this other yarn now. Let's just look at the hat for a sec. So this one, I did use a much smaller hook, and you can see the spiral probably a little bit there. No pom-pom here. I think this is really cute. So again, this was from some sparkle scraps to have the color in there. I'll remember. You guys all know the yarn. It's a fingering weight yarn with sparkle, and I always think it's cotton, but it's actually acrylic. And Summer Nights, is that it? I think it might be Summer Nights. That's the one. So if it's different, it'll be on the screen, but I'm pretty sure it was Summer Nights by Lion Brand, and Jayda had done a really cute shawl in it a few years back. Anyway, these are just leftovers I have, and I think this one had like aqua, purple, salmon, coral color, and the one I have left is much more salmon-y, corally colors. But yeah, just using that up because I don't have any real need for it in my stash, and I thought it made a nice little set for somebody with a little bit of added something just to the gray. All right, so this is the hat that was already done. I showed this hat when I completed it, and I went with a purple pom-pom because there is, even though the pom-pom's blowing out on camera, there is this lilac-y color that gets striped through this marble cake. And then there is a cowl to go with, and you can see it more here. The camera's picking it up a little bit better, but this set goes together, so yay. The hat is quite small, so hopefully this goes really well for someone. So this cowl was started before we left, and I finished it in the car, I think on the way up. I might have sewn in my ends after. And then I started a second set, which is what I was working on the day I was fighting the sun in the car. And that's this set here. I think I started the cowl first. I can't remember now. You might have seen in the clip. But here's this cowl, and here's the hat. And I think that there's just enough purple going on in here that the purple pom-poms are looking pretty good with it. So this is a bigger cowl, but that's okay. And I mean, I don't know for sure what the coordinators and the ladies who are involved in helping getting everything ready for the charity are going to do, but they could definitely mix match some of these things around. They could also choose to let people choose their own or not have both at the same time. So anyway, putting them together as sets. So that's two more. And one last set. So this is where the last bit of the glam stripes went. So I held it with the Karen marble cakes. I keep forgetting the name of that one for some reason. I thought I had one more burgundy pom-pom, but I didn't. And I think it's just fine using this nice cream colored pom-pom as well. So another set with the Karen marble cakes and the glam stripes this time. And I'm much happier using up the glam stripes with yarns like the gray one or this one that has a bit of white going on in it, because it hides that pooling of the sparkly part. But up close or in the light, you can still see a bit of the sparkle. Let me hold this closer to you so you can see it in the camera. I can't see myself and show you the hat up close, so hopefully you're seeing it. I won't find out till I edit this video. Anyway, so I'll show you what I have left. Oh no, I can't. I can't show you what I have left because it's holding up my sign. I have about 2/3 of a cake left, and I think in total with those sets I used about 2.5-ish cakes of yarn. So yeah, that's all out of the stash, so yay. And 7 cozy sets for the month of October, yay. And now I'm going to show you a clip about Shoebox Charities. Hey everyone! Today is Saturday, October the 19th, and I am going to be going by to do a drop-off for Shoebox Charities. They're actually doing some, I think, an online auction. So I have this granny square blanket from a while back, probably 2 years ago or so. I will insert a picture as well later on, probably at the end of the video, of it completely laid out. But I offered them this blanket for auction, and they are taking that. So that is the first item that's going over there. And then I'm going to show you the sets that I'm taking over today. Hey everyone! I'm just jumping in with some voiceover here because, as you can see, the video is quite choppy and I'm moving about too much. I did speed it up so you could see a few of the sets, but I'm just going to throw some pictures in here as well. I have them in groups of 5 until I ran out, and then I have one last group of 3. A total of 28 sets went over to Shoebox Charity so far, and I'm still hoping I can get a total of 50 done for this year. Yay! All right, so there were some littles in the month of October. We did a different chicken pattern. This is the one that Rose has linked in all her videos. I think he turned out okay. This is some of the Bernat blanket yarn that I used for my niece's pillow cover. It has a bit of a shimmer to it. I used some gold for the mouth part on this one, and it just doesn't show as well. Like when you're just looking at them on camera, it shows fine. Also, I put the eyes that have a little bit of pink in them, which tend to like kind of just blend into the yarn. And it's funny because I really wanted to use up some of my fun eyes in playing with some amigurumi, but I'm craving having bigger black eyes and I'm out of those. So I was just looking on Amazon the other day, and they're all going to come with multiple sizes, so I have to really be careful of which one I pick, because the big black eyes do really look good on their own with certain things like this. I digress. Okay, so one chicken pattern will be linked. Patterns, any tutorials that I actually used, the patterns will be linked. There wasn't a ton of them that I used this month, but I'm hiding the little ghosty. The little ghosty is from Jayda last year. I just didn't stuff him. So I sit him over top of a candle and he lights up at night when the LED candles go on. So that works well. He's just got a little bit of fiberfill in his head so that he doesn't squish. But I'll put the chicken with him. Hopefully they can hang out without one of them knocking the other one over. And then I almost forgot to talk about the pumpkins. So the pumpkins I made ages ago, but I was telling you last time that I made my mom some of those spider webs, and I don't know if I got to show them. I think I did, but this was the idea that Jayda had, that you could just put one of the spider webs on the pumpkin. So this is her falling leaves pumpkin. I made this last year. I didn't make any pumpkins this year. And then the spider web, I made that at the beginning of October because I gave the ones I had made last month to my mom. And this is just like a little, I got a set of these in black and a set of these in like a bright magenta-y color in sparkle. And because of the nature of how they are, they'll stick a lot of places. So it looks really cute and a little bit creepy. So when I first bring out my fall decor, I don't have all the Halloween stuff on it, and it gets closer to Halloween, I add the Halloween stuff on. And the teal pumpkin is from years ago as well. All right, back to Amigurumi. So then I tried Crystal from Chronically Crochet's Mini Monster, and I almost did it, and I did it in blanket yarn, so it's not as mini, but I kind of screwed up the bottom a little bit, so he's still cute. I gave him 4 legs instead of 2 at the bottom, and I gave him a little t-shirt yarn at the bottom so that he's more able to stand up, and he does stand up quite well, with some wonky eyes and a wonky smile. So he's pretty cute. It's a great little pattern. And then finally, I made myself a little leggy froggy. And I followed the tutorial. I think it's the original tutorial. This is Bernat Blanket, but Bernat Blanket pet yarn. It's really old. So it's actually only a 5 weight, so it's not very big in this yarn. The little monster I made my sister last month is the same yarn. It's a scrap, and there's still more. So I might be able to get 1 or 2 more of these type of things out of it, depending on what I use it for. I used some of my green eyes on him, and I think this part needed work, but it's fine for what it is, right? And the last one I tried was a stingray. So funnily enough, when we were away, hubby did pop into Walmart and grabbed me a couple of things that I just needed. One was just green yarn because I have very little green yarn, and what I do have is a specific color. Then he found me what I thought was the mainstays version of blanket yarn, but he found me the thicker one. So I haven't been able to use that yet, and I specifically wanted it for the bottom of the stingrays. But here's the first one I made, and it was fine. It was interesting. The tail was interesting as well. I don't think you really needed to do it separate, but that's a whole other thing. The eyes part is fine. The crocheting it together part is fine because I like the fact that it brings the color that's on top underneath a little bit. And the smile part worked out fine. And I used a very little bit I have left of a very soft gray, and I could probably do that 1 or 2 more times. But yeah, he's cute. So just played around with a couple little amigurumi tutorials this month. So I actually followed someone's rules and didn't just wing things all month long. And I will link those in the description box below. Cute. So I'm not so sure how successfully my little friends will stay there for the rest of the video, but we're almost done anyway. So this actually got done pretty early in the month. So this was another heating pad cover. I had barely started it last month for my mom, and this is in a Red Heart Super Saver. Definitely not Simply Soft. Super Saver, old. It's very old. I can tell by the feel, and you can see how it pooled. And I specifically did double, half double, double, half double to see if it would help with the pooling, but it actually looks quite good. I don't mind it at all. And I mean, she's just going to use it to cover a heating pad, so it doesn't have to be amazing. There's a very tiny scrap left. So I made this little bag, and I made this while we were on vacation. And I put things in here so that I didn't forget that I had made some little things with scraps while we were away. So what do we got? We have a scrunchie. This is a very little bit of a acrylic cotton blend I had used for something else in a 2 weight. These ones, the purple ones, were the leftover of the Premier, what's that one called? I made the vest out of it, not this summer, the summer before, kimono vest. It'll come to me. Cotton Fair. So 3 more hair ties, not full scrunchies, because that was how it was going to work. And basically what I do is I pick out the elastics and I see how stretchy they are, and if they're really good and stretchy and they're not going to come apart, that's what I like to use for the hair ties. So I got a few of those. And then I had a little bit of just red yarn with me because I had a feeling that this scrap was going to run out. So I used it to trim the bag and to make the tie. And you can see how much it pooled using the same stitches, way more so than her heating pad, eh? Regular hair tie. And then I made a couple of Wing It poppies. So this is the first one I made. I was just playing around with some stitches, and I just planned to put a pin on the back so it can be worn. And I didn't love how the little petals were looking. They were okay, but they weren't exactly how I wanted them to be. And then I made a different one, and I put a button on this one in the middle. And I like this one better. So I just played with how I was doing my double crochets in the middle. Obviously for petals, you want to be able to go up and down, right? So you want the smaller stitches in the down and the bigger stitches in the middle. And I was just playing around with that, and I'll put a button on the back of that as well. I have some older poppies that I made us for Remembrance Day years and years ago that we still use, but it was just a good use of a tiny little scrap of yarn, and I had a couple buttons with me. And in the middle of this one, I actually put just a tiny little bit of sparkle yarn. And so I didn't even put a button on that one. So those were also made while we were on vacay. When I didn't feel like working on the blanket, I had some little things to work on, and I kind of kept the cozy set in my car crochet bag. So I guess we'll see if there's any clips of the blanket. I'm not sure if there is. This is the blanket that I'm currently working on. Very happy that I added in the lime green, and I'm literally at the halfway point now. I got 2 of my striped skeins in now, so I'm at the halfway point of the blanket, and I'm continuing on. I'm on a set of 4 of the turquoise rose now. So that's on the go as well. All right, so you know whether or not there was a clip of the blanket, but I don't, not until I edit this. However, sometimes I have to stop because there's neighbor noises, but this time I had to stop because one of the neighbors was outside walking around talking on his phone. And this has been going on for a while. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if he's walking a dog or if he's just taking a break on his own and he walks, but his voice is very loud. I didn't feel very good about recording him accidentally, so I let him go by. So it's been a few minutes and I have this on me. The door is open, which is why I've been able to, you know, try on a cozy set for you and have my scarf on. It's not too hot. So the temperature is still only gonna get to about 11 or 12 degrees today, but like it's climbing the rest of the week to the high teens, early 20s. We might even hit like 22 one of the days this week, and then it's gonna go back down again. So it has been a very, very nice fall. And here is my last finished object. I will make sure I get a chance to lie this out on the floor or the bed and get a proper picture of it. But this I just finished last night. Thankfully, the majority of my ends were already done. I put the last striped skein into this yesterday, and my last 4 rows that look like the plain color, turquoisey color here at the bottom. And those are the only ends I still have to do. And I don't really put borders on ripple blankets, so I'll disappear and you can see it as best as you can see it here. But you get the idea. And basically I just stopped where it was a fairly good color for either the very deep royal blue or that really bright lime green, and got myself a row or 2 in. And you will see this properly when it's laid out. The bottom and the top sections are 15 rows of color in between the 4 rows of the blue. So I from the very beginning, I had 4 rows of the blue. And then I counted and found out I had 15 rows. This is the first section because this doesn't have any ends. So at least we can talk about it that way. So this is where I started. There's 15 rows of color. And the reason that the lime green didn't get in more than once is because I didn't have it when I started. So I got in once this time, 4 more rows of the plain blue. And then my middle 2 sections have 20 rows instead of 15. And so the lime green gets in twice. And I pulled another, I don't know what to call that color. Let's just show it. It's a tealy color that was kind of in the striped yarn that I was using initially. And on camera, this is showing much more blue. It's much more teal in person. And let's just see. Yeah, this one is called Bernat Premium Teal. So that's that one. I think of teal more as the darker colors of teal. So, there's 20 rows there and 20 rows again of color. And then the last one is 15 again. And I don't know if you'll see any, but there should be a few ends down here. And so it is very unique. I made more work for myself by having the extra ends, but I just did it to like sort of blend the yarns. The stripes in the Mainstays yarn that was the striped yarn, they're very short. So you kind of had to do something. And I'm glad I put the lime in it just because it brightens it up a bit. And even though it probably doesn't show very much on camera, it really helps the greens pop out. There's a lot of greens in there. And that's why I wanted to have like a jade color instead of the lime, but I couldn't find it. Nobody wanted to give me one. So we went with what we had. And it's plenty long. So right now I'm sitting on the couch. My couch is quite tall. It's a very long blanket, so you can see it goes all the way above me. So it will be plenty big enough for a teen size blanket for Project Linus, and that was the goal. So I'm glad this is done. It felt like a chore at parts, and then parts of it went really well. So I'll show you what I have left over. This is the ice yarn. It was 400 grams, and it doesn't feel like even 100 is left. It feels like less than that to me. So there's probably enough in there. If I was wanting to make a solid hat, I probably could get a small hat out of this. There's very little of the lime green left. So you can see how bright it is. It's so nice. This yarn, I really like this Loops and Threads yarn. Now, when you got the neon colorway, it was less yardage than the regular yarn. And I had to go down a full hook size, I think. For the majority of the blanket, I was using a 7mm hook, but every time I did one of these rows, I used a 6mm hook because it's nice and thick. And then I had pulled this out, which was a lone skein of Bernat Super Value I had in royal blue. So there's a little more of this left than I thought there would be, but the royal blue was pretty pronounced in the stripes. I didn't need it as much as I thought I was going to. And I'm still toying with the idea. I don't put borders per se on these blankets, but I'm still toying with the idea of doing that single crochet chain two, single crochet chain two, and kind of just framing it, if you will. And I could frame it in that color maybe. I could frame it in any one of those 3 colors I just showed you, or I might just leave it alone. So yeah, this is done. I have a very few ends to weave in, and I've got to lay out and get some pictures. But this was quite a bit of work in the month of October. So in November, I will be wrapping up the cozy sets for Shoebox Charities to make sure I get those over to the lady in plenty of time. And I will be working on the Milo Minute blanket. And I don't really know what else. I think those are my 2 priorities for November. I have a few little Christmassy things I have to do. Oh yeah. So we have been toying with the idea of changing how we do Christmas with my dad, because he's a bit of a drive away and we don't like driving there in weather, and we don't want him driving here in weather. So we are doing Autumnmas and it's soon. It's like next weekend. So I actually have to get the 12 days ready for my dad and my stepmom this week, part of which reason why I wanted to record a little bit early and make sure I had my week organized. And I have a few little crochet items that I need to do for that. Nothing big, but like little cute covers for some mason jars that are gonna have things in them, things like that. So this week there'll be a little bit of that. And then after that, I will be focusing on blankets and cozy sets for Project Linus and Shoebox Charities in the month of November. I don't really have any other Christmas things on the go that I need to take care of in November, so we will see what else I get up to. I hope you guys are all doing well. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for chatting with me in the comments. Have a great day and happy crochet. Bye, friends.